Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about a recently released report or index which is Global Hunger Index. Global Hunger Index has positioned India as 105th rank in this particular year. So what does it say overall about the hunger situation prevailing in India, and what is the concerns that has been raised by the government of India, more specifically the Ministry of Women and Child Development, as far as the index's method for the data collection to conclude or to come for conclusion at a report is concerned about. So let us try to understand this in more detail. So first of all, to give you an idea about the background or context of this particular issue. So the recently released report of Global Hunger Index for the year 2024, it has stated that a serious level of hunger is prevalent in India. In this context, it has ranked India as 105th in overall 127 countries, and the score that has been given to India stands at 27.3. Now, what does this score basically mean? So, if we talk about the categorization of the scores, any score on this index below 9.9 indicates a low level of hunger. A score between 10 to 19.9 indicates a moderate level of hunger. Between 35 to 49.9 is alarming level of hunger, and above 50 is basically extremely alarming level of hunger. Now, as India has received a score of 27.3, we can see that the India's hunger situation is somewhere between moderate to alarming in nature. Now, let us try to understand about this index in more detail. So, first of all, the Global Hunger Index, it can be considered as a tool that attempts to measure and track hunger globally, as well as by the region, geographical region we talk about, as well as at the level of country itself. The report itself is published by two NGOs which largely comes from the European Union. One is Welthungerhilfe, which is a German NGO, and other is Concern Worldwide. So these are the two NGOs responsible for preparing Global Hunger Index. The index is calculated annually, and the report is issued every year in the month of October. So the recent report has been released in this particular month itself. So what the report basically talks about as far as the India is concerned, what are its major findings? So first of all, the report has basically taken 4 parameters to conclude about the hunger situation prevailing in India. The first parameter is something that is referred as child stunting. So first of all, if you talk about the term child itself, it refers to any children who are less than or up to 5 years of age. So any individual up to 5 years of age, basically we can say, is child. So child stunting refers to share of children who are under 5 years of age with lower height proportional to their age. What it basically means that for every particular age, there is a corresponding height that need to be attained or should be attained by the children biologically. So if the height attained by the age of 5 years is lesser than the expected height, that is called as stunting. And stunting largely is a result of chronic undernutrition. That means the children are not able to get sufficient nutrient or sufficient, what I can say, balanced nutrition, so that it helps in growing. So that ratio stands somewhere at 35.5%, which is a very alarmingly very high ratio. In other way, what the report is saying, that 35.5% of the children in India who are under 5 years of age, they do not have the corresponding height or ideal height related to the age. The second parameter is undernourishment, that basically talks about the share of population who are having insufficient calorie intake, and that ratio also is very high, standing at 13.7%. This also is a reflection of poverty that is prevailing in India, as well as the inability of almost what we can say 13.7% to gain sufficient calorie as required for the daily task. Third parameter that has been studied is child wasting. Again, it refers to such share of children who are under 5 with lower weight proportional to their height. Now, the first parameter we have discussed is stunting, that measures the age, height related to age, and this child wasting measures the weight related to their height. So, there also 18.7% of children do not fit into the ideal ratio. Then we have the child mortality. Simply it refers to the number of children who are dying before attaining the 5 years of age or before their 5th birthday, more precisely we can say. That number stands at 2.9%. And as per the survey, India has the highest, if we talk about child wasting rate, India has the highest child wasting rate globally. That means the children of India, most of the children of India have lower weight as compared to their height if you measure it with the ideal requirement. So this is the major findings that we can talk about from this report. Now, apart from this, on the on the positive side, the report also has highlighted that despite all these issues and challenges and problems, India has demonstrated a very strong political will to transform the food and nutrition landscape. And while talking about this, it has hinted about several of the schemes that has been launched by the government of India in past years. The most important one being the NFSA, that is the National Food Security Act. Second is the Poshan Abhiyan or National Nutrition Mission. Third is the PM Garib Kalyan Yojana. And fourth is the National Mission for Natural Farming. These are the missions that has been highlighted that as per the report represents the significant or a strong political will. However, the report has argued that there exists a significant room for the improvement, and largely when we talk about the child wasting rate, which India is having a very high child wasting rate as discussed before, the report has mentioned that it is related to what we can call as the intergenerational pattern of undernutrition. Now, intergenerational pattern of undernutrition, in simple term, it means that the undernutrition prevailing at the first generation, largely due to undernutrition prevailing in the mothers, that undernutrition status is being transferred to the next generation, that is the children's as well. In this context, report has highlighted that those mothers who are inflicted with insufficient weight gain during pregnancy, either due to low calorie intake or due to lack of proper nutrition, and low birth weight among infants, and this too basically translates into high child wasting rate. In other words, what we can try to understand, if we have to improve the child wasting rate, we have to not only focus on the nutrients of children, but we also have to focus on the nutrients that is received by the mothers, especially during their pregnancy. So that is what we can say is the major findings of the report. Now, the question comes that as we talk about many times about the economic status of India, the GDP growth rate is one of the highest in the world, and the report states that though the GDP growth rate of India is high and it is continuously increasing, it does not mean that there is a direct correlation or direct relationship between the per capita GDP growth and the low level of hungers. And it is not always directed or guaranteed, not always direct or guaranteed that the high GDP growth rate will translate into better nutritional status or a low level of hunger or malnutrition. In other words, GDP growth alone does not result in improved food and nutrition security, especially if you are talking about the entire population, because GDP growth rate does not take into account the inequality that is persisting in the society, where most of the wealth is being cornered by the upper strata of the society, and the trickling of wealth to the downward section is either very less or very delayed in nature. Thus, the report puts forth the imperative for policies to emphasize pro-poor development alongside addressing the social or economic inequalities that is prevailing in India. Unless and until we take strong action to improve these two, we will not see direct correlation between GDP growth and improvement in hunger situation. Now, if we talk about the proposed solution, report has not only talked about the problems, it also has talked about some solutions. So, several solutions are there and few important ones we can try to understand from here. So, first of all, the solution cannot be what we can say a single pronged, it has to be multi-pronged or multifaceted. For example, the report has said the government should try to improve access to the social safety nets. Social safety nets, basically when the people are, due to change in the economic scenario, people are falling into the poverty, below poverty line or something like this. So that is something that has to be ensured, such as pension schemes or what we can say as a cash transfer to the poorest section of the population and all. Second is it has to address the complementary factors that relate to the well-being and nutrition. For example, many times it is the lack of what we can say purchasing power or money that contributes in receiving or having insufficient calorie intake by the population. So, how can we improve the calorie intake? We have to focus not only on the nutritional aspect, but also in increasing the purchasing power of the population. Third, dedicated approaches to assessing and provisioning nutritional needs referring to different segment and sections of the population. Fourth is to promote diversified, nutritious and ecological food production, including nutri-cereals such as millets. One of the problems that India has faced, especially as a result or after the grain revolution, is that overabundance and overemphasis on the production of cereals, which cereals, basically cereal grains such as rice and wheat. However, we have neglected the millets, which are a storehouse of not only high nutrition but also helps individual in fighting several lifestyle diseases such as diabetes, blood pressure, etc. So the focus of the government should again to ensure the increased production of millets, pulses even we can say. And fifth last we can say is making effective investment in mother and child health, because we just have discussed that it is the generational transfer, intergenerational transfer of hunger or malnutrition that we are observing. If the mothers are not well nourished, obviously the health of child also will be significantly impacted or affected. So for that also we need to take the proper measures. However, the one concern that has been raised by the Ministry of Women and Child Development is that the data that has been used to prepare the report or the Global Hunger Index is not as accessed from the ICT application that the ministry has, that is Information Computer Technology application, which is called as a Poshan Tracker. Poshan Abhiyan we have discussed about, the government has launched largely a national nutrition mission kind of Abhiyan. So the data has not been collected from that. That is the concern of the government, because the government has said that the three major international organizations such as UNICEF, WHO and World Bank have classified and acknowledged this Poshan Tracker as a game changer, and thus it has observed that if you look at the data that we have received in our Poshan Tracker or from the Poshan Tracker, the child wasting, which the report believes or the index believes is the highest in the world, is consistently below 7.2% on a month basis. But if you compare it with the report, it is somewhere about 18.7%. So this divergence of data, the ministry believes, is because of the erroneous collection of data, or maybe what we can say as unofficial data collected from the unofficial sources. On the other hand, if you look at the counter arguments that has been presented by the people who have prepared this report or has contributed in preparation of this report, they believe that whatever data collection methodology they have adopted is also something that has been vetted and certified by the WHO, that is World Health Organization. So they are not collecting data in some randomized manner. It is also a proper way of collecting data, and to ensure uniformity of data collection across the world, that is why they are using the same methods in India as well. Second, they also say that if you collect data from the ICT applications such as Poshan Tracker, these trackers only monitor data of the programs that is launched by Government of India, such as Anganwadi program, and cannot be used for computing prevalence. Prevalence means how prevalent something is in the entire population, for example, child wasting, child stunting and etc. And also it says that thus it is not representative of the entire population, the data that is tracked by the Poshan Tracker. Rather, it only collects data from those who are enrolled in the ICDS, that is Integrated Child Development Scheme. The people who are out of the ambit of this program or have not enrolled in this program, they are left out if you collect data from Poshan Tracker. That is why, to have a much more wider collection of data and understanding of the prevalence of any problem, the methodology used by the Global Hunger Index is accurate. So that is all about this particular topic. I hope you understood overall the elements that we have to understand and improve around the hunger and prevalence of hunger and malnutrition in India. Thank you very much.